Dune is filled with archaic symbolisms and patterns. But before we can look into them, we could ask the question, was the author consciously aware of these symbolisms that he clearly alludes to?
I'm very heavily imbued with Jungian psychology, so I think that we do have a sense of the mindless animal in the depths.
Well, though there is evidence that Herbert was highly influenced by the works of Jung, Spengler, Jaspers, Freud and Heidegger, who through their works have engaged with mythological symbols, Carl Jung himself would argue that even if the author was consciously unaware, he would still be operating within the language of these symbols because they are deeply embedded in the human psyche, that they are the universal language from which all great works of literature emerge. We can understand the archetypical pattern in Dune by looking into 4 symbolic binaries that the story clearly brings out: light and darkness, heaven and earth, order and chaos, and death and rebirth. The tensions between these binaries play out at different levels in the story, and though there are many characters that fall within different spectrums of the binary, it ultimately centers around the messianic figure Paul Atreides. It is he who has to hold these dichotomies in their precarious balance while simultaneously subverting them. Light and darkness is one of the more obvious symbolisms in Dune. Denis Villeneuve brings that out clearly through the visual imagery. The Atreides are light while the Harkonnens represent darkness. Matthew Pageau, in his book The Language of Creation, states that unlike the modern world where light is connected merely to good, in the archaic symbolic world, light is connected to knowledge, a divine knowledge that can transform the darkness. Hence, when Paul realizes that he is also part of the Harkonnens because his mother is the Baron's daughter, he is forced to confront the darkness that is biologically present in his very being. But it is not by rejecting the darkness, but rather by embracing it and understanding it through the illuminating light that he is able to hold the precarious balance while also transforming it from within. The second set of symbols is heaven and earth. In ancient cosmology, earth is not merely a planet, but all of physical existence. Heaven, on the other hand, is not just what is above, but is best understood in its relation to earth. Pageau gives an example of a house that is made of bricks and mortar, which are the physical elements of it and hence representative of earth. But it also has elements that are unseen: the blueprint of the house, the vision behind it, as well as the purpose. These are the unseen elements behind it and hence can be termed heaven. Temples then becomes the most tangible places where heaven and earth come together. In Dune, the Arrakeen has temple-like structures whose architecture in the movie resembles that of the ziggurat, the ancient Near Eastern temples. Built by the Harkonnens, who are from another world, it is the mediating center, a false heaven on the planet, exploiting their resources. And as much as temples have been structures that bring together heaven and earth in all Near Eastern religions, in the Bible, the temple was a temporary placeholder. The ultimate manifestation of heaven and earth comes together in man himself. In Genesis, we see God making man from the dust of the ground and blowing into him his breath, which gives him life. Man is the true coming together of heaven and earth. And though Adam is the prototype of the potential of the union of heaven and earth, it is finally the Messiah who is the true union of heaven and earth. In Dune, Leto Atreides is representative of Adam. Banished from Caladan, he has the potential to liberate Arrakis. But it is his son, Paul, through whom this potential is manifested. Third, we come to the symbolic binary of order and chaos. The desert is naturally a place of chaos. The fact that the Fremen have to break the pattern of their steps to cross the desert is a testament that anything of rhythmic order is an irregular phenomenon to the natural disposition of chaos in the desert. It is into this chaos that Paul Atreides and Jessica are thrown into. But as they move deeper into Fremen territory, they see a sense of order refined through the years. Paul, the Lisan al-Gaib, is necessary to bring together the different factions, organize them into a formidable army, and take down the Harkonnens. The Harkonnens represent tyrannical order, something we also see with the Sardaukars, where there is no individuality or freedom to allow for any type of chaos. The brutal hierarchy keeps the order intact. The binary of order and chaos is also seen in Paul himself, who embodies the masculine order from his father Duke Leto and the feminine chaos from his Bene Gesserit mother, Lady Jessica. Both these biological heritages are important aspects of him being the Mahdi. Paul harnesses the chaotic power of the desert, the Fremen, the sandworms and the unstable weather in order to topple the old order of the Emperor and the Vladimir to bring forth a new order. And finally, we have death and rebirth, an important binary that plays out in the story. In Dune, the water of life comes from the underground sandworm reverentially called Shai-Hulud. It is extracted from these species, showcasing an element extracted from the deepest part of the underworld, a poison that no male can consume and live. Paul Atreides, keeping in line with the prophecies, consumes it, but because he is the Kwisatz Haderach, he is able to use his Bene Gesserit ways and convert the toxic chemicals at a molecular level. At this stage, he goes into a dead-like coma state for 3 weeks and is then resurrected into new life. The Apostles' Creed, the oldest ecumenical symbol of the Christian faith, contains within it the fundamental Christian doctrine that Jesus was crucified, died and was buried. He descended to hell. The third day he rose again from the dead. He ascended to heaven and is seated at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. Jesus' death brought on him the sins of the world, which is akin to the worst toxic chemicals that are poisonous, thwarting eternal life. Jesus in his death takes it on himself, and there is a descent into the underworld only to ascend to the highest glory. The symbolic binaries throughout Dune are a reflection of the universal language of symbolisms that are clearly communicated in religious traditions. They form a very intrinsic part of the way humans throughout the centuries have understood the deepest structures of reality and communicated it in their narratives. Frank Herbert articulates these symbolic binaries within the complex world of Dune, and hence they can still find deep resonances in our time. And probably a helpful way that the modern scientific world can engage with the symbols that have dominated the imagination of world civilization for thousands of years might just be through such great works of science fiction.